Merry meet and welcome to Thrilling Thursday here at Ariel's Corner. This is Ariel Gatoga and we are streaming live right here on YouTube. Moderating today for us are the lovely Diane and the lovely I Am Her Eminence. Thank you so much, moderators. And thank you so much to everybody for joining us today. I hope you are having a fantastic day. Let's see, our website, arielscorner.com, arielscorner.com. That's kind of the hub of everything at Ariel's Corner. That's where you can find everything you possibly could need from Ariel's Corner. And remember, everything we offer is free of charge. But we do have a shop, and none of those things are free of charge. But those are just merchandise to help fund the channel. And you can find that merchandise at arielscornershop.com, arielscornershop.com. And we're talking about t-shirts, hoodies, coffee mugs, etc. So none of that's necessary to practice the craft as we teach it at Ariel's Corner, but we do appreciate your support. Another way to support us is with a donation, and you can do that by going to paypal.me/arielgatoga, paypal.me/arielgatoga, or on YouTube you could use a super sticker, super chat, or super thanks. On our website, arielscorner.com, on every header and footer, we also have links to our social media, including our private our private Facebook group and our Discord server, and that's where you can be part of our online community. Another way to be part of our online community is right here, right now on our chat thread, so please chat amongst yourselves, and if you happen to have any question for me personally, you can put it right in that chat thread, and I'll do my best to answer it if I have the answer before the end of the stream. If for some reason I can't get to your question, you can always take that onto our private Facebook group or our Discord server, as I do tend to hang out at both of those places every so often. I try to check in at least once a day. Did I forget something? I don't think so. I think I got it all. Let's see. Well, just as a reminder, we do have live streams here Wednesday through Sunday at 10:15 a.m. Pacific time right here on YouTube. So that means we'll be back tomorrow with a Witch's Rosary. It happens to be the dark moon. I'm pretty sure I've got that right. It's the dark moon tomorrow. So we won't be doing a Shekinah square like we often do around the new moon. But we will have that the following week. I think that's the first Friday after the dark moon. Is that right? Let me look here. Make sure I got my dates right. I haven't been doing a lot of magic this week, so I think I might have it wrong. Let's look here. Yeah, so that'll be the actual new moon is going to be on Sunday. So the dark moon's on Saturday, Friday, Saturday. So we'll have our Shekinah square the following Friday. All right. Who cares about that, Ariel? They'll figure it out themselves. You don't have to obsess over the dark moon. Okay, let's see what else. There was one other thing I wanted to tell you before we got going. Oh, yeah, we have a new spell video up on YouTube. If you haven't seen it, the spells are so short, I don't make them into premieres, so sometimes people miss them. But it's for eliminating the power to harm from your life. So if there's someone or something that you feel is a source of harm for you, this is a spell to diminish their power to harm you. And you can find that right on our YouTube channel. And it's called A Talisman to Dissolve Harm. That's the, it's called a Talisman to Dissolve the Power to Harm, the Shield of Release spell. It's a long one, but it's a good one. It's a short video, but a long title. Anything else? I think that's it. Let's get going. If you're in a place where it is safe and appropriate, please close your eyes and begin to take some nice, long, slow, deep, relaxing breaths in through your nose and out through your mouth. With every inhale, feel more light and peace entering your body and mind. With every exhale, let go of all the tension in your body, along with anything in your mind you do not want. Inhaling peace and exhaling as we let go. We picture ourselves on top of a beautiful mountain in the center of a circular grove of trees. In the center of our circle, a bonfire blazes forth, lighting us and the grove with a sacred golden light. This is the light of perfect love and perfect trust, and it burns away everything unlike itself, leaving us safe and serene. Into this sacred space, we invoke the presence of our Creator. To many of us, our Creator reveals themselves to be a mother and father, a goddess and God. We call upon our angels, our guides, and our teachers. We ask that they join with us as we walk upon the way, leading us to be happier, more powerful, more magical, more peaceful, and more loving people. Blessed be. We talk a lot about the witch's pyramid: faith, imagination, will, and secrecy. And those are the four cornerstones of that pyramid, that when those four cornerstones are in balance and strong, our ability to work practical magic is quite high. And one of those cornerstones has come up frequently lately, and that's the one called imagination. And there's a rising trend I've noticed of people who will reach out to me very disappointed that they believe they can't perform magic because they say they have aphantasia. And aphantasia is a word that is a fairly recent word that means the inability to visualize. And they believe that since they have this disorder, that they are worried that they can't perform magic. And I want to disabuse us of that right now. The actual disorder of aphantasia is a fairly new phenomenon, and they're not able to clinically diagnose it yet with any certainty. However, they have been able to determine that true aphantasia, the absolute inability to create images within the mind, is limited to under 1% of the population. And even within that 1% of the population, a couple of things are true. Most of them are still able to have visual dreams, which means that their capacity for visualization and imagination is intact. It's just not under their conscious control. And two, there have been studies, recent studies, that the majority of those people in that very small percentile are able to improve their ability to make visual images with practice, so that the actual inability to do it is even smaller than initially reported. So that's good news right there. It may not be that you have a congenital disability, meaning that from birth that you have a congenital disability, that there's no hope for you in that regard. It may not be the case. But even if it is the case, I still want you to feel good about being able to practice magic. Imagination has as its root word image, the ability to create imagery. And it's an unfortunate word in the witch's pyramid because it really could be called creativity instead of imagination. Think about people who were born blind. They've never seen anything. Yet it's impossible to conceive that those people have no creativity just because they've never had the ability to see an image. In fact, some of the most gifted composers and musicians and performers are blind since birth. So the ability, and authors that are blind from birth, the ability to create is not something that is tied only to the ability to see visual images. Not at all. If you have the ability to be creative on any level, that is that corner of the witch's pyramid, regardless of whether it has the ability to see something visually in your mind's eye. Even though I would well, I'll get to that in a minute. So even if you have a complete inability to create an image, a visual image, to create a visual image in your mind's eye, does not mean that you have no power of creativity. If you had no ability to be creative, you would not be able to speak. You would not be able to choose something off of a menu. You would not be able to find your way home in your car. Because anytime a choice comes up in your life, your mind creates experiences of what 2, 3, 4 things you have to choose from in order for you to make that choice. If you open up a menu and it says, special today, meatloaf with mashed potatoes and gravy, you may not be able to see those things in your mind's eye, but you know what they are. You're able to have a recall about what those things are. You're able to say, nah, I don't want that. Or, ooh, that sounds good. If you weren't able to create, you wouldn't be able to decide. It would be impossible. Because you'd be like, I don't know what meatloaf is. I know I've had it, but I don't know. Now, let's say there was an item on that menu called grilled asparagus, and you've never had grilled asparagus before. But you know what a grill is, you know what grilled things are, you know what asparagus is. You can come up with a general idea of what grilled asparagus might be, even though you've never had it before. That's because you're creative. You have the ability to create something out of nothing in your mind. That's what magic is. That's what that corner of the witch's pyramid is talking about, your ability to create. Now, a lot of aphantasia, and I'm not saying it doesn't exist, it does. It does. But a lot of aphantasia is a symptom, not something that's congenital. And I'm also not saying that there is no such thing as congenital aphantasia. And if that is truly what you have, the good news is that your powers of creativity manifest in other ways than through the visual side of things. But the non-congenital aphantasia that we have in this society is possibly, and I've been saying this for decades now, a product of our screen time. It's an atrophy that we have. We don't have the ability to have imagination like we used to because we don't need it. In the old days, teenagers had sexual fantasies, not pornography. They had stories, not video games, not films, not television. So they were required to use their imaginations in order to enjoy things, in order to function properly. But the more that we have visual stimuli being fed to us nonstop, there's no need. We have no need for it. We have no need to imagine anything. So it doesn't surprise me that aphantasia is running rampant. And I don't believe that the majority of that is happening is congenital. And it's been proven that it's not. There was a small study done recently, I think it was in 2024, of some athletes, because a lot of athletes use visualization in their training, and there were people that they were dealing with in the study, these athletes that couldn't visualize. And so that aphantasia presented itself, and they took them through programs of training and practiced and practiced and practiced. And the bulk of them, the majority of them, got better. And it was a very small amount of that particular, it was a small test group. So, I mean, this was, very small. But it was a small amount of them that ended up not being able to visualize, which just proves my point that it's not that we can't visualize. It's just that part of our natural ability has gone unused lately over the past 50 years, especially since television. started. Remember, back in the day, they used to call it the boob tube. And they would say, the more you watch television, the stupider you get. And they weren't wrong. They weren't wrong that when you watch television at the expense of reading, at the expense of storytelling, at the expense of non-visual activities that stimulate imagination, you are going to lose that ability to imagine. You're going to lose the ability to imagine, or at least it will atrophy, and it will take work to get it back again. So, many of the people that complain that they have aphantasia have it because it's atrophied, not because it's congenital. It's been proven that the bulk of them have that. Now, the ones that it is congenital, it doesn't matter. You still have creativity. You do. You do. When you're at a restaurant experiencing what I just described, you have some way of having a recall, bringing up into your mind what things are so that you can choose. You have some recall about which way to go on the road when you have to turn. Many of us, we see it in our mind's eye and we don't even realize that's what we're doing, but you have another way of dealing with it. And whatever that way is, that's your creativity. And that's what you want to lean into. So this idea that I can't be a witch because I'm aphantasic is inaccurate. If you can't visualize, you can do something to be creative. Otherwise, you wouldn't function in this world. And many of you who believe you're aphantasic, but still dream visually, probably have the ability, but it's atrophied. And you can get that ability back if you want it. That's true for a great many of them, a great many of aphantasics. And there are some that will never be able to visualize. And it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Just like it doesn't mean that when somebody's born without the ability to see, that they can never be creative. That's ridiculous. So if you were born without the ability to visualize, that doesn't mean that you can't be creative. Of course you can. You have to be creative to function. It's impossible to function in this world without having some ability to be creative. So you do. You have that corner of the witch's pyramid. And you can start with where you are and ask yourself, how do I decide things? When I'm hearing somebody tell me a joke or tell me a story or recalling an incident, how am I recreating that for myself? There's a bunch of people that are aphantasic and they say, I can't see images. When somebody tells me to visualize a bull, all I see is the word B-U-L-L. And I wonder why none of the doctors that I've read in these studies haven't asked, if you can't see pictures, how can you see the word bull? You may not be able to see the bull, but you can see the word. You're still seeing something. So it's not true that you can't see anything. It's just that you only see the typewritten word of it, right? So if you can see the typewritten word, can you change the type font in your mind? Can you change the color of the word? So everybody's got some ability to be creative, whether they like it or not, whether they want to admit it or not, and whether it's in pictures or not does not ultimately matter. What matters is that you understand that you are a creative being and that part of working magic is asking yourself what you want. What do I want? When I ask you, what do you want? Let's just take one category. Let's say finances. That's a big deal these days. Well, it's a big deal all days, but these days especially, since prices are going crazy and people are losing jobs. It's not great. So a lot of people are going to magic because of finances. All right. So what do you want? If I asked you to take out a piece of paper and a pencil and start writing out your perfect scenario about what would be great financially, If you can come up with that, you're being creative. If your thing is that you want to have a partnership, let's say you want to get married and have a family and you want to meet the right person, that's what you want. What a wonderful thing to want. Nothing wrong with that desire. If that's what you want, good. What does that look like for you? What kind of a person? What kind of a relationship? What kind of a home? How many kids do you see yourself? You're not locked into it. Just brainstorm. What is it? Well, if you can come up with any ideas, you're being creative. So yes, you can create. Yes, you're creative. Yes, you have so-called imagination, even if images aren't part of it. I want you to, as a powerful practitioner of magic, consider disavowing the idea that you don't have the ability to visualize. Because let's replace visualization with the word creativity. Let's just replace that. Just take the V word out, because that's a big bugaboo for some people, because either it's atrophied, it's too hard for them, or they just can't do it. So what do you do? What do you do when you want to create? How are you able to? Maybe you have just a sense of it. Maybe it's a feeling that you're creating in your mind. Maybe you're hearing sounds. Maybe you have one of those really advanced forms of visualization where you can conjure scents. I remember the first time I was able to start conjuring scents, I was like, ooh, this is a new one. I love this, because I'd only been working with visual and auditory creativity when I was working magic. When I started being able to conjure scents, I thought, oh, okay, I'm getting pretty good at this. So what can you do? You can do something. Lean into what you can do and let the other stuff take care of itself. Don't worry about it. It's nothing to get upset about. And they get so upset and I feel so bad. Like, I can't visualize. I can never be a witch. It's like, stop. Yes, of course you can. Of course you can. If you didn't have enough creativity to be a witch, you wouldn't have enough creativity to live a life. Because you have to be creative to be alive and to function, unless you're institutionalized where they do every little thing for you because you are a vegetable. If you are a sentient being that's making choices in this world, you're a creative being, like it or not. It's just it. It's just how it goes. No matter what you think, no matter what anybody tells you, that's the truth. If you can make a choice, you are creative. So, since you already are creative, lean into it. Get better at it. Now, let's look at this. Let's say we weren't talking about creativity. Let's say that we were talking about physical fitness. Now, let's say that all of your limbs are working, that you don't have any real health problems that completely negates your ability to have exercise at all. If you're able to get up out of your chair and walk across the room, you have some level of physical fitness. And if you can do that, if you want to get stronger, your body to get stronger, you can do other forms of exercise as well, if you wanted to. And so if you have some creativity, you can make it stronger by using it. If you took maybe, I don't know, a month or two, and you listened to a fairy tale every day, or some other kind of story with lots of visuals every single day, and you look back, I guarantee you your ability to visualize has gotten so much better. It may still not be visual pictures, so maybe the V word is bad, but your creativity has gotten stronger because you've gone to the creativity gym every day for a month or two. If you're doing something that is making you follow a story that doesn't have ready-made images, you're creating and you're exercising that ability to create. So you can do it. You can do it. And that's all spellcasting is making up stuff, making believe. It starts off with make-believe. When you were a kid, did you never play make-believe? Were you the one that just didn't do that, ever? You didn't have any kind of fantasy? You didn't have any kind of fun, any kind of playing at all? You're just stuck just being the one sole uncreative, non-creative child in the group? I don't think so. I really don't. I think that if you look, it may have been a unique expression of creativity, may not have even been like all of your other friends, but you had a wonderful ability to be creative as a child. That didn't go anywhere. That didn't just stop because it was kind of pounded out of you, either through your upbringing or just because of the fact that you decided to start, like the rest of us, having nothing but screen time, where images are bombarded, where we are bombarded with imagery, and we don't ever counteract that by using our own image-making capacity. So yes, if you had it as a child, you still have it, whether it's atrophied or not. Now, if you've never had a dream where there's been a visual involved, you may have, you may not be able to visualize. And that's okay. Like I said, just like the blind person can still be creative, you can still be creative. It's just in a different way. But if visualization is important to you, and you dream in visions, you were able to have visuals at any point in your life, I think that you probably still have that ability if you work at it, if it's important to you. Now, it's not necessarily important to magic that you visualize. It does make things easier if you can see the light, if you can see the orb. But if you can't see it, if you can't create visuals in your mind, you can sense it. You can know it's there. You can still make believe. You can still use your powers of creativity to act as if that's there. Act as if that's there. And if you can act as if something is there, then you've made it up. You've created it with your mind. You've created it out of nothing. That's magic. And when you combine the ability to create something in your mind with those other three pyramid points, faith, will, and secrecy, you are a powerful witch and you can get stuff done. You can manifest things. You can have things. You can change things in your life. But don't buy into this idea that I can't do it. Yes, you can. Whether it's visual or not, it doesn't ultimately matter. Even though I posit to you for your consideration that the bulk of you, it's been proven scientifically, even though it's on a small scale, it's been proven that the bulk of aphantasics can regain their ability to visualize, especially if they dream in visuals, which means that aphantasia is a phenomenon of our times. And my theory is that, and it has been this theory that this has been coming. You can listen to old recordings of mine back in the 80s when I was saying this is coming, our inability to visualize because of the fact that it's atrophying through the screen time that we have, and not counteracting that screen time with good old-fashioned storytelling, reading of fiction, practicing our ability to visualize. So the bulk of aphantasics can recover their ability to do that. It's been proven, at least to some degree. And those that can't, who cares? You've got other abilities to be creative. So stop. Stop talking about why you can't do it and start figuring out what does work for you. How do you do it? How are you creative? Maybe you're super duper unique. Isn't that wonderful? Maybe your ability to be creative is so different than everybody else's, and all of this time you just thought that there was something wrong with you, and instead there's something very right with you. It just doesn't look like everybody else. What a wonderful thing to know. Doesn't matter, because you can still use your creativity to experience something that's not yet there. And if you can experience something that's not yet there that you are creating in your own mind, you can add that ability to those other 3 points of the witch's pyramid and make stuff happen. You can do it. So don't lean into this self-diagnosed aphantasia, because I will tell you one thing, there is no official diagnosis for it yet. They don't have it yet. They talk about it. It's a phenomenon, and I believe it's a real thing. But if you decide that that's what you are, and you don't understand that it's probable, based on what little scientific data we have, that you can actually recreate your ability to visualize, that should be good news. But if you decide, since I can't do it, and since there's this word, this must be what I am, and if you decide that that's what you are, you're not even going to try. And even if you have been, and you might say, well, I try those visualization exercises, I do read fiction, I do listen to stories, fine. And if you do that, then you're discovering how you have creativity. And it may not be in pictures. But that doesn't mean that it's not there. That doesn't mean you can't use it. That doesn't mean you can't be just as powerful in magic as somebody that has the ability to see pictures. I don't buy any of it. So don't let yourself feel handicapped in the craft because you have this problem, what you consider to be a problem. Because I'll tell you, most people are experiencing some level of that problem. And it's because of our screen time. It's because of our behavior in this 21st century. Our behavior is to be on the screen all the time, having images bombarded to our face over and over and over and over and over again. Our entertainment has images attached to it. Our news has images attached to it. Nobody reads the newspaper. That's a thing of the past. We see it. The more that happens, does it really surprise any of us that aphantasia is making itself known in our society? But the good news is we can counteract that. And if you put yourself in the context of being in a society where everybody's ability to visualize, everybody's ability to have creativity and imagination is atrophying, and you're leaning into yours, and we know that creativity and imagination can create reality, doesn't that put you in a place of power? Doesn't that put you in the driver's seat? Doesn't that put you kind of ahead of the crowd, that you're doing something about it and nobody else is even worried about it? Nobody else is even thinking about it. To those of you who really believe that you can't do it, I posit for your consideration that the fact that you're worried about it puts you ahead of the crowd. That you care, that puts you ahead of the crowd. And you can do something about it, whether it is counteracting this tendency by exercising that ability to visualize, or by discovering that your creative forces come in a different form. It doesn't matter which. But if you lean into your creativity and you really exercise it and you mobilize all your inner forces so that you can have a strong sense of creativity, you're ahead of the game. You're ahead of the pack. And the fact that it's concerning to you is actually really good news. It's really good because you want to, or you wouldn't care, or you wouldn't even notice it. So those of you that are going through this, it's a sign that you're on the right track. Just don't allow yourself to get stymied and say, oh, there's no hope for me. Oh, that's not true. You've got plenty of creativity, but you've got to use it again and again and again. And you're going to be very, very successful and strong with your magic as you do that. Thank you so much for joining me today. I so appreciate you. Until next time, blessed be. Alrighty, Rooster, let's see. Is there any food or drink that is also taboo in studying the craft? I think you already asked me that on my YouTube channel, and I answered it for you. I think it was on a witch's primer. And no, there is no taboo of eating or drinking in the craft. In fact, there are no taboos in the craft. because the craft's only law is do what you will. So, yeah, we all have our own ability to make choices. We have our own ability to have our own understanding of ethics, and nobody gets to impose those on us in the craft. There's many self-appointed craft, or what I call witch police, that believe that they're part of the witch police, that will tell you, you can do this, you can't do this, you must do this, you must not do that in order to be a witch. But that doesn't come from the craft. That just comes from those people. So just remember that when you hear witches telling you what you can and can't do, they're not speaking for the craft. They're speaking for themselves. All right. Well, thank you so much for that question. And thank you so very much to everybody for joining us today. And thank you to the amazing moderators, Diane and I Am Her Eminence, and Dre. Thank you so much for being here today, everybody. Hopefully we'll see everybody tomorrow for A Witch's Rosary. Until then, blessed be.